So in this first clip, I'm just quickly taking off his rug so I can tack him up and making sure that I clip the straps, the leg straps, onto the rings again so they're not hanging around, and taking off his fly boots. And then I stack them nice and neatly on top of the tie-up. Now I'm just going over him with a soft brush because he's really sensitive and he wasn't dirty at all, so I just wanted to get a little bit of dirt that's left or some dust, just get that off his body and things like that. Didn't want to do a full groom or anything like that because he was really sensitive and doesn't really like the curry combs. Now I'm just doing his feet, being sure when I put them back down that I do it gently, and when I pick out his feet I avoid the frog because that's a really sensitive part and everything like that. Now I'm throwing on his beautiful spotted saddle pad and his riser. I believe I'm putting on his martingale next. You might see me fidgeting with it a little bit. He needed that because he gets very, very strong when jumping and likes to hold his head up high like a giraffe, so I'm just trying to fiddle with it, and I had to grab the hoof pick to get it out so I could adjust it. Hoof pick save everything, and then I just put a saddle on and pull up the saddle pad into the gullet. And I just fast forward so you don't have to watch me fiddle with the girth because he's a bit of a chunky boy. And I just tighten that up, make sure the martingale's all set, and I throw on his bow boots because he drastically overreaches, and it's very annoying because he's always hurting himself and he always has abscesses, and he actually clipped off a bit of his foot before. But now I'm just putting on his bridle, and I tickle my thumb in the side of their mouth where there's no teeth and just encourage him to open it up. And when I do up the noseband, I leave about 2 fingers width, so it's not really tight. And then with the throat latch, I do 4 fingers, so again, it's not too tight. And then I just put his halter back on so he can't run away. And silly me, I almost forgot to do his boots on the back. He got his front boots put on later. But these are, I call them double lock boots, so the straps go forward and they go back, so they're pretty tight. I think I forgot what they're called. Oh, there's Aaliyah. But I'm just putting them on the back because we would be jumping. Yeah. And this is a different day because I wasn't able to get clips of me untacking, but first of all, I take my stirrups off and throw them off to the side. Struggle to undo his girth and everything like that. Take the saddle off, put it away, put it out of the way, and then things like that, and put the saddle pad over there as well. Take off his boots, put them off to the side so he can't get them, bell boots as well. And then when I take off bandages, I don't try to make them perfect when you wrap them back up, but just kind of gently wrap them so they're pretty easy to put back on. Now we just moved into the wash bay, and I start with the jet setting to try to squirt off all the extra dirt from the ride. Start with his legs, and then I go up to his back and try to do his whole body. I don't really do his head because he doesn't really like it. Always got to get up between his tail, and then I just move on to the other side. Just a gentle, easy rinse before I give him a little baby wash. Yeah. Now we've moved on to his socks, and I'm just using regular shampoo just to get them nice and clean again because they're very filthy. Excuse me, sorry. But I find it easier just to use your hands and get down and dirty and scrub. Get all that dirt out, and then rinse your hands, and then I'll come back over and rinse over again to get all that soap off. Yeah. This is a shampoo I'm using for his back, only his back, so he has a little bit of like a rain rot or fungus, very lightly. It's not drastic at all, but just scrub his back really well and try to kill all that stuff and get it nice and clean and everything like that. So I do it on both sides and also give him a little bit of a massage because he deserves it. And then I hose him off, make sure there's none left because that'll be very obnoxious. And yeah. And lastly, in the wash bay, I just sweat scrape him so there's no water left and enjoy watching him yawn like he has such a hard life. Now I take him and tie him back up, and he's very fidgety because he knows he gets his dinner. Excuse me. So I just do the front straps first, and then I believe I went to the leg straps. And then I'll probably do the belly straps next. Yep, make sure they're crossed over, and then do up his neck piece, and he's all good to go to bed. Now I'm just putting his tack away. I prefer to do it after I put the horse away and everything like that, and then go and feed, but you can do it however you want. And I'm just putting his boots back in his little bucket, and same with his bandages. Here I'm just explaining what I would do if I was clipping him. I'll talk more detail later. But I'm just demonstrating what it would be like if you do his neck. I could not tie him up because he has an abscess and he was not allowed to leave. So I just had to suffice and do it there, but he was pretty chill. Now we're just in the feed room again, and I'm just going to be making up his feed and just explaining what's in the bins and everything like that. So first we have chaff, and I gave him 1 scoop, but then afterwards I was like, oh, whoops. He needed another one, so I added that in afterwards, but I cut it out on accident. So that's just his chaff. Put it in there and put it back in the bucket so no rats or mice or snakes get into it. And then he gets half a scoop of Ultra Cool. So I'm just trying to fish it out of there, trying to see. It's a bit dark. But you call that half. That's half. And I put it in the bucket as well. Lid back on, of course. And then in here is Be Quiet. He gets a half a scoop of that. That's about half, yep. Put that in as well. And then last thing is called Livermole, and he also gets a little half scoop of that as well. And the second horse that you'll see, he gets the same thing, but I wasn't able to film that, so I just thought they get the same thing. I do the same process and everything like that, and I just mix it like that. Or old-fashioned, you can use your hands and get down and dirty. And I'm just grabbing Oliver's hay. I wasn't able to feed Oliver or the other horse any of their hard feed, but this is all I could do because they get their hard feed before I get there or anything like that. So I'm going into his pen and make sure to close the gate behind me and walk it over into dry. And I always separate the hay so it's nice and easy for him to eat. And here we have our second horse. So just undoing his rug, really, really simple. Just the front straps, neck, belly, and take off the leg straps. Whoops, had to transport to another day, but I'm currying him all over because he was very filthy and he didn't have a rug on that day. So I'm just currying his whole body, and then I go on to a soft brush because he is also sensitive and I don't like to use hard brushes on him. So just do his whole body. Now I've moved on to his feet, and I only showed one front and one back, but it's the same thing as Oliver. Just pick it out and brush it out with the brush on the end of the hoof pick. Same with the back. He's really good with it. And now I'm just taking him up. Let him sit the saddle pad. It's my personal saddle pad. I think it looks really good on him. Riser saddle as well. And with him, it might look like I'm pulling the saddle up too far forward, but it slides back a lot with him, so gotta be safe and just cut forward because I was fiddling with the girth again. And then put my stirrups on, put them up so they're not dangling and don't get caught on anything, yeah. Now I just moved on to his boots. These front ones are dressage boots, technically, but I prefer to use them just for anything because they give more protection than regular tendon boots. So I'm just doing that, and I had to adjust this one so they're even pressure on both sides, and then I just grab the camera, grab the little back boots for him and put them on because we were doing some jumps. Now I'm putting on his nice pretty blue bridle, and I put the halter around his neck so he can't go anywhere. Try to fiddle with his mouth to get him to open, and again 2 fingers on the noseband and 4 fingers around the throat latch. Yep. Put the halter back on and the reins over his head. And then I'm just going to move him away from his hay so he's not eating with the bit in. And yeah. And we jumped into a completely other day, but this is just how I would take off the tech. Bridle first, put his halter on, girth saddle, and saddle pads and riser. Okay, so I am squatting down, but I am well away from him. He can't really kick me if he wanted to. But this is what I would do after a ride. Obviously, I haven't ridden him yet, but if I would demonstrate this after a ride, it would be very dark because it'll be after 6 p.m. and you wouldn't be able to see anything. But so I'm not gonna do a full bath with him. I have done one with Oliver, which you will see either before or after this clip. But he has really dirty legs because it's been very muddy, so I'm just gonna clean those up, and that'll be it for him. And yeah. Not quite a bath, but we don't want to ride him when he's looking like that because that can be very uncomfortable. Mud can rub with the boots and everything, and no one wants that, so let's get to it. So as I previously explained, you get the gist. I hope you could hear me this time, but I start off with the jet and try to get as much mud off as possible, and then I go in with a little brush and try to get off the mud as well, front and back, and I do the hooves as well as his legs. Again, don't want to rub with the boots because that'll be uncomfortable. And then once it's mainly off, I try to squirt some more off and rinse everything so he's all good and we can start riding. Okay, so here I'm with Gellico, and I'm not actually going to clip him today because I'm not allowed to, and he needs all this fluff. But I'm just going to demonstrate and talk about what I would do if I was actually going to clip him. So first of all, you would clearly prefer if they were tied up in cross ties, but we don't have any of those here. Hello. So this is where I would tie them up, just on a big log, technically, with some baling twine. And when you plug it in, it would, be nice if the outlet is fairly close, so there's not a big cord running through the barn or around the yard or anything like that. And always make sure that the cord is out of the way, so it's not really a tripping hazard and it doesn't start wrapping around the horse as you move around. And before you start clipping, you obviously want to clean them, make sure they're rid of any hair. There's a little bit in here. But you always want to oil the blades, but I don't have any oil with me right now, so I'll have to deal with that. But obviously, if they haven't been clipped before, and even if they have been clipped, you want to show them the clippers so they know what's going to happen and they can get used to them instead of just going right in there and giving them a heart attack. But once you turn them on, I'm just going to pretend I turned them on. Don't put it right up against them and start clipping right away. Get them used to the vibrations, and so they don't get a big old fright when you start touching them and vibrating and everything like that. And once they're accustomed to it, you can gently start going. And prior to clipping or anything like that, make sure that they are clean and washed for sure, because yeah, no kidding. Any dirt left over can obviously clog these and it can become pretty itchy. And after you're done clipping, sometimes it's good to give them another wash, but very gently because they're pretty sensitive. And try not to ride them for a day or so because they can be very prickly. And obviously rug them according to the weather conditions. Obviously it's usually pretty warm here, but we always generally keep them rugged anyways. Isn't it right? Should just be boy. Yeah. So I was just going to demonstrate really quickly of what I would do. Obviously I just talked through it, but I will give them a demonstration. Good. So it's always better to stand at the shoulder because obviously the safe zone is way over there, but when you're in this area close to a horse, the shoulder is probably the safest spot because they can't kick you, and if they do turn around and bite you, it's not so far and they cannot really get to you. So stop staring at me! Anyways, so I would make sure that this is all plugged in and it's out of the way, and I would get him accustomed to them first. Obviously he doesn't really care. And then if I turn them on, pretend that's turned on. Pretend these are turned on, and I would because obviously it'll make a sound, and he'll be like, "Whoa, vibration! What is that sound?" and like that. So once he's calmed down to the sound, I would hold them in here and kind of rest my hand up against his shoulder or somewhere that's not sensitive, so you can feel the vibration a little bit through the hand. So then when it's touching him, he'll get accustomed to that as well before you go on and clip his whole body. So yeah, and when you do clip, either I would personally want to start here or even on the neck, but start from the back of the horse and go up with the hair because that'll get the cleanest cut. And if you go down towards or with the hair, it won't be as deep of a cut, you know what I mean? So it'll be a bit lighter. I mean, if that's what you're going for, then yeah, but if that makes sense, you just kind of start about here and just do a big old sweeping motion and no back and forth. That can get really choppy. Of course, before you start your clip, get some wet chalk. Mark out what you want. If either it's a trace clip or what's it called, hunter clip. That's what I usually call them, and like that. But usually with him, we would usually do a full clip. I don't think he's getting clips this year, but last year he got a full clip. But a lot of the other horses just get a half body clip, so they leave their legs and part of their head and everything like that. So, yeah. And now we're into the boring stuff. So I'm just cleaning up this yard here, and it's also doubles as a pasture because some of the horses get let out here at night. My friend's talking to me and didn't want to help, so they just came and watched and gave me food. But yeah, pretty simple. I just have my pitchfork and put it into the wheelbarrow and get the big clumps first and then go and get the little ones. But that's enough of that. That's pretty boring. And so here is me cleaning a stall. Sorry, it's a bit dark. It was probably about 6 a.m. So I get up, get all the poo out first and make sure there's none left because no one wants to be standing in poo. And then I scrape the walls down so I can redo them. Just get all the shavings off the walls, flatten it out a little bit. And I believe, make sure that there's a bit of a pathway left in front so the horses, when they're eating, like, if they drop any food, it's like not in the shavings and they don't have to stand on shavings while they're eating. And I sweep all the stuff up. And I just changed camera angle, and this is me putting up the walls again. I put fresh stuff in there, I believe, but I just didn't get a clip. So make sure the walls are up there like that because they can get cast. So if they're rolling and they can get stuck between the wall and things like that, and that can be a bit dangerous. So having shavings on the wall just kind of like bounces them back so they can't really get stuck. Here I am just scrubbing a feed tin inside and out because it is very filthy because the horse is a little bit of a pig. Don't tell her I said that. But here's just another view. Yeah. And I'm just dumping out the water outside. It was raining anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And then I just put some water in, scrub it, get all the gunk out, and before I refill it. And finally, just getting filled up before I put it back in the stall, and we're all set.